Today we're going to do a video on how to repair a fixture that has a broken wire. Today we were on the production line and we were testing parts on the line, and the parts get tested like this. The pins get depressed and the bottom has wires, and it does the electrical test. After investigating why the parts were failing here, we turned the fixture over and we found a broken wire. There's the broken wire. Looks like the wire came off of the pin. So we are going to replace this broken wire. We're going to fix it. And in order to fix it, you will need these tools. You will need a cutter, a utility knife, and a side cutter. Okay? And a piece of heat shrink. So we will go through and how to do that. First thing we do when we have a broken wire, I cut the broken part off, and now I have a wire that I am going to strip. And I'm going to take this wire and strip it like that. After I strip it, I twist it with my fingers like this. And I am going to tin the wire. Tinning the wire means I'm going to get some solder. Here, solder. I'm going to turn on the solder iron. This comes up very quickly. It'll come up to 800 degrees. When it's at 800, it's ready to go. There you go. So now I'm going to take the soldering iron. Always be careful because the soldering iron is very hot. Okay? I am going to tin the wire. So I get the end of the wire and some solder, and what I do is I put the tip of the soldering iron on the wire and I let it heat up, and then I put my solder on the tip, and what that does is it runs solder onto the wire like that, and that's called tinning the wire. Also on the pin itself, we want to make sure that there's solder there, and there is. At this point, we have a wire that's tinned. We have the pogo pin sleeve that is also tinned. But what I see that this is too long, so I'm going to cut it back about half of that. Just like that. Okay? At this point, I am going to take this, and this is called heat shrink. And we will put the heat shrink over the wire, like that. We move it back. Then we are going to take the solder tip here, and we are going to hold them together like this. Get the solder molten, get it to melt. Hold it for a second or two, and that's it, you're soldered. So the wire is repaired. At this point, you're going to take, I sometimes wait a couple of seconds. Then I take the heat shrink and I push it over the part that I soldered, like that. Push it over. Then I take my heat gun, I turn it on hot. Here. I let it heat up for a second. Then I will heat the heat shrink, and you see it will melt onto the wire, like that. And at this point, it doesn't come off, and you have a, at this point it doesn't come off, and you have a fixed wire, repaired. Okay.